Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review the show. I'm your host, Will Lou. Okay, Blake Murphy the day off because we got the Pound the Rock boys coming in hour one. We're going to talk about where the Raptors young core ranks among, all the promising young teams across the league. We just saw Chet versus Wemby last night. Oh man, that was crazy. Then what we got? We're going to look at the playoff picture a little bit just around the association because the Raptors won't be a part of it, but still, we do want to see what's going on around the league. Then in hour two, we got an exclusive interview that we recorded yesterday with head coach Darko Rajaković down at practice. So that's going to run about 18, 19 minutes. So look forward to that at 3 o'clock with myself talking to Darko. And then for the finale, we'll bring in Lindsay Dunn of CityNews, and we'll chat everything about Raptors. She's been at Raptors practice. But yeah, in the meantime, Cash, Wolfond, you guys are back by popular demand. What's going on, guys? You all right?
Yeah, we're good, man. How you doing killing time with 3 days off between games for a team that's 12 games under 500?
That's what we're for.
Yeah.
You guys are like Ross Stripling? Like,
innings leaders.
Yeah, I need you guys to throw like 3 innings, maybe get like, 2 strikeouts and a couple of ground balls. Like,
we're giving you an immaculate inning. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, listen, this is one of the ways that we are burning these 3 off days is we are going to just take a bigger picture look at the Raptors and sort of where they stand. So clearly they moved towards a rebuild, right? Like we saw Darko gave the quotes yesterday about, the priority is about like learning, not necessarily like winning every game. They're going to try to compete, but it's about lessons.
Who was it? Was it Ty Lue that year in Cleveland said it's about it's not about wins and losses this year. It's about wins and lessons.
Yeah. Did he say that before the game or after the game?
I think it was before the season started.
Which hilariously, while Tristan Thompson was saying the East still runs through Cleveland.
Oh, the East ran through Cleveland that year. I think Cleveland had like 20-something wins, and they drafted pretty well in the draft the following year. But
some wins would be nice. So far, it's just been lessons, as far as I can tell. So when are the wins going to happen?
Can we get a pizza for 3 lessons in a row as well? Because I think we'll be eating good. But look, the Raptors are clearly pivoted. But at the same time, though, they do have a promising young group that they want to build towards. And I kind of want to contextualize that within the scope of the league. So even before we get into that, though, I wasn't planning to talk to this, but I'm sure both of you guys as diehard hoop heads would have seen this. Chet versus Wemby last night. Just your quick reaction to that?
I mean, both these guys are freaks. They're going to entertain us. Hopefully, if they stay healthy for the next decade plus. And how fans in Oklahoma City and San Antonio should obviously be thrilled. And I think Joe and I actually both kind of wrote variations of this over the last couple of years. But if you've been following the evolution of big men and the whole like unicorn thing, right? Yeah. You can go back to Dirk. You can go even Porzingis when he was drafted. What Embiid and Jokic are for their size. If you've just been following the evolution of big men over the last 25, 30 years, Wemby and Chet really do represent almost like the final frontier of that evolution. And I don't mean that to say like, there's not other things bigs can do, but they really kind of took pieces, whether intentionally or not, or it's just a product of the environment over the course of basketball development history. Each of them have kind of taken pieces from all of these unicorns and all of these kind of ahead of their time big men over the years and have combined it into one skill set at 7'1" or 7'3" or 4", however big Wemby is. And it's awesome to watch. And like I said, I mean, general NBA fans, Spurs fans, Thunder fans should be thrilled that we get to watch these guys the next decade and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the game last night. As Cash knows, I was locked in on Bucks Cavs. I had to see what the Bucks looked like in the Joe Prunty era. Looked pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. I saw them doing dances and stuff before the game.
Oh my god, dude, that was so disrespectful.
To who? Adrian Griffin?
Yeah.
Yo, they should have a door like a grave underneath on the court. Like
they might as well have, honestly.
Yeah. Also, Thanasis is leading that dance. Like, come on, dude. Come on, dog. Anyway, how was the game? Yeah.
No, it was good. The Bucks looked really good. Honestly, they looked. It was like the fired coach bounce that I feel like we've seen that a few times. So we'll see if they can sustain it.
Do they play defense?
Yes and no.
Oh, okay.
Giannis and Brook played defense.
That's what they need to play defense.
Like nobody else really did. Like Crowder was okay, but those same problems are going to persist.
Yeah,
like, they're not. solving that issue with the coaching change. Like their perimeter defense, we said it coming into the season. Like that was going to be their big Achilles heel. I think they're worse at that end than I expected them to be, but I don't think there's any schematic fix that's going to make them even like league average, you know?
You don't think Doc Rivers is going to have the schematic fix?
Look, Cash and I have said this. We think that the pendulum on Doc has maybe swung a bit too far in a negative direction, like to the point that he
was a top 15 coach of all time. You know, he's already been recognized.
Yeah, in that sense, I guess it would be hard to argue that he's become underrated.
Yeah.
I guess it depends who you're talking to.
Right.
But I think that he's not as bad a coach as a lot of people want to make him out to be.
You're right. It is one of those things where like the meme has gone like ahead of like what's actually happening with them. And you know, I actually did want to talk a little bit more about the Bucks because in segment 2 we wanted to talk about just like which teams actually have championship or bust pressure. But yeah, I mean, just going back to this game though, like it's, man, you got to just see the highlights. Honestly, just see the fourth quarter highlights. The start of the fourth quarter, because the thing with Wemby, he doesn't play the whole game. You know, like the minutes restriction, all that kind of stuff. So the Spurs are like two entirely different teams. One, a competent one, and then one just like one of the worst teams you've ever seen. Like probably Pistons level bad when Wemby's not on the floor. Yeah. But Wemby is on the floor and Chet's on the floor to start the fourth quarter, and they just go at each other. And that's the thing. So Wemby finishes with 24 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 4 blocks pretty much everybody in OKC's young core. It blocks Jalen Williams, blocks Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, blocks Chet Holmgren, blocks Josh Giddey. Don't even want to say the name. Chet Holmgren finishes with 17 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 3 blocks as well. And I just, honestly, it's just fun watching them go directly at each other. Like Wemby had 9 baskets. 7 of them were directly contested by Chet. So he went straight at him. He dunked over him at one point and that kind of stared him down, which was great. Not intimidating when you got stared down by a guy who's 7'5", but also like 200 pounds. But still, like,
also because I
like
saw
the energy. Like,
I saw on Twitter everyone going nuts about like, oh, Wemby crammed on Chet and then mean mugged him. But like he didn't really dunk on him. He kind of dunked while Chet was like 4 feet away and falling backwards. Like,
yeah,
kind of, but not really. You know?
Yeah.
Still loved it, but I don't think it was quite what everyone made it out to be.
But you know how this works, right? Like they need to manufacture a rivalry here, even if I mean maybe eventually
I think it could be real.
It could be. Maybe it'll grow into that eventually. Right now, one of these teams is like the top seed in the West, and the other one is the bottom seed in the West. They're playing for different things right now, and like I watched their first matchup against each other. I didn't watch this one. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be awesome to like watch them as their careers progress, and I'm sure they will have more consequential matchups against one another than the one they had last night. But yeah, I just think, you know, I've watched a bunch of both of their games throughout this season, and I'm on the same page as Cash when I say that it's very cool and almost surreal to see what these gigantic humans are able to do, and to see that in the context and like the evolution of big men over the last, I mean, it's accelerated over the last 5-6 years, I think. Even though, you know, you can go back like 10 years and see what Anthony Davis and Kat and Porzingis were doing when they entered the league. Now it's like what Embiid and Jokic are doing is just completely unprecedented, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing that has stuck out to me, especially about Chet, since he entered the league, and like, you know, Wemby, I think, is ultimately going to be the better player.
I think he's the better player right now, though. That's the thing, too.
I don't agree. I know that's like...
If you put Wemby on OKC right now, are they a better team than they are currently?
Maybe.
I think they're about the same.
So I think...
I don't know, man.
I think defensively, he's more impactful.
Definitely.
Offensively, I think Chet's like quite a bit ahead still.
And I think he's more fluid.
He is more fluid. Wemby kind of makes it up as he goes. Chet kind of already knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And
but look, you could also be playing in a much better team. It helps you clarify your game.
It's hard to judge given how different their respective environments are. Mm. But with Chet, there just isn't any way that you could possibly conceive of using a big man in your offense. Mm-hmm. He's doing that at a high level. He's not like a great post-up player yet. That's maybe the one thing that I would point to and be like, he doesn't have that, but like pick and pop, pick and roll, short roll, hard roll, all the way to the basket.
Attack off the dribble.
Attack
coast-to-coast drives.
Like handler in transition, trailer in transition, spot up, cuts, like pick and roll ball handler in inverted action, face up, isolation scoring, all of that, like any single way. And I just think that I don't know that Wemby is quite there yet. Like
that's fair. That's fair.
He will get there.
He's not as good of a shooter as Chet. Like if you give them each 100 wide open shots, Chet I think is making substantially more than Wemby is.
I don't think he has as good a handle either right now. So
it is hard to handle when you're dribbling it from like the height of a
ball's got a long way to travel.
Grown human being.
You could argue no rookie in I'm trying to think in our lifetime or like our generation that has completed the puzzle for a legit contender or a team this good. Like Chet has for this Thunder team.
Yeah, you usually don't see rookies come in and just like, for again like a title contender.
Yeah,
like I'm struggling to think about like a guy who like started and plays like for some reason Rondo is coming to mind.
Well, Magic Johnson.
Even Rondo wasn't
right, but I said our lifetime, our generation, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah, but that's my point. If you're going to go back to Magic for the last time a rookie impacted a potential contender like this, kind of that's the story.
But Rondo was a sophomore when
Rondo
they won
was
the title?
A sophomore too. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it's really impressive what they're doing. I feel like the NBA is probably dying for this to become like their version of Messi and Ronaldo that had soccer hat, except in this case, like I suppose Messi in this case, Wemby has been drafted to like I don't know. Girona or something, like not Barcelona. Yeah. It's not Barcelona, Real Madrid. It's like one of them's on one of the great teams, and it'll be good forever. But I mean, the Spurs, I don't know. They need a lot more steps.
Yeah, one of these guys,
that team is not good, man.
Is playing with an MVP caliber superstar, and the other one's playing with Point Sohan. So
yeah,
I think it's cool too, though, that if it does turn into this great rivalry where they're playing like conference finals games against one another, I think that would be neat. Just because we had the OKC San Antonio rivalry. In like the KD and Westbrook and like Duncan, Ginobili, Parker era as well. And I think that would be like a neat way to bookend it. But I just hope that this whole thing isn't just like a forced narrative where they're pitted against one another.
Come on, they're like they're so distinctly unique. Like I don't even consider them big men. They're long men. Like a big man is like
they're slender men.
No, but
they're slender men.
All I'm saying is they'll obviously be grouped together. Like they're, even though Chet was drafted a year earlier, they're rookies at the same time. And there's going to be parallels throughout their careers. But like, I just hope that they aren't pitted against one another in the way that Jokic and Embiid so often have been. And I just hope that doesn't detract from our ability to like appreciate what both of them can do. Because we just get so wrapped up in arguing over which one of them is better.
See, this is where I disagree with you. My sports brain disagrees with you because I like the fact that like they wanted to go at each other last night. They sought each other out. They dunked on each other. Like they went out of their way to go at each other. And whatever, they're the matchup for each other. Like they're supposed to be going against each other. But I like that. I like that Wemby, by the way, he relishes going against Giannis. Right, that was an exhilarating matchup. They almost beat the Bucks, which says a lot about the Bucks. But still, Wemby went straight at him. He went straight at KD. You know what I mean? Like he likes these matchups.
I want them for the next 15 years to have great matchups. I want them to dislike each other but respect each other, and then I want them to be on great terms when they retire. But in the meantime,
No, I need the Messi Ronaldo like fake photo where they're like playing chess over I forgot a Prada board or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I hope people watch soccer. I mean, it's the best sport. Anyway, let's talk about young cores then because we're on this subject. So the assignment I gave to you guys was where does BBQ, Raptors BBQ, which is Barnes, Barrett, and Quickly, rank among young cores in the league? So the prompt I gave you guys was that it's the top three of each team, and then those are going to be the core. You can't have like four guys in this core, and they got to be 25 and under. And so, for context, the Raptors core, Scotty is 22, RJ is 23. Apparently, his last name is now Barnett as well. If you've seen a rival TV station, and Quickly, who's 24 years old. The way I wanted to break down this conversation is which teams are definitely better with definitely better young cores. Which teams are probably better, but we can maybe talk about it, and then probably on the same level as BBQ. So, Wolfond, I'll start with you. Give me a team that definitely has a better core than BBQ.
OKC?
Yeah, that's number one on my list.
I'd lean Thunder, I think.
Yeah, give me your thoughts on Shea, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. God damn, man.
Yeah, they're those guys are really good.
It's also the fit.
Yeah.
Like, it's one, the immense talent between those three guys,
Yeah.
two of which are probably like in their peak. Shea's already there, but two of those three in their peaks, probably like franchise level superstars. One of them in Jalen Williams, I think the perfect secondary star who's still, in my opinion, going to be an all-star and maybe even all-NBA one day. Like, he's getting really good really quickly.
He's so smooth,
but it's
man.
the way their skill sets between the three of them complement each other. Like, you could not have built a better three-headed monster of young guys in a basketball lab.
If Jalen Williams was on a different team, I feel like people would be talking about him as like a potential future number one, like franchise player.
Wow.
Am I off base there?
No,
like,
I hear you on that because like
what can't he do?
He's been so efficient since coming into the league as a rookie. I mean, like last year, 52% from the field. This year, 54% of the field. Shooting 44% from three. Has a mid-range pull-up. We just saw him hit a game winner with. Is super strong.
Which he's done like multiple times this year. He's been insane in the clutch.
Yeah. Like, I would love to see him get his own team, but in this case, I guess he will be more like a Jaylen Brown kind of situation. Maybe alongside of like Shea.
He's still
as
an
the
all-NBA player.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Jaylen Brown, except he can handle the ball and pass.
Yeah, that too. That's the thing too. Like, I actually like his long-term outfit better than those guys. And then Chet, I mean, it's just super rare. Like, any of these sort of unicorn guys, like, you know, that alone. So, yeah, OKC, I mean, arguably, do you think they have three prospects better than the Raptors? Have one prospect or no? Would you take all three of these guys over Scotty or no?
No, I would not take Jalen. I like Jalen Williams a lot. I would not take him over Scotty Barnes.
It's a conversation, though.
Wolfond's having a conversation. Yeah.
A short one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's like, do you like Scotty's passing and size, or do you like Jalen Williams' shooting? And, like, I mean, he's still a guy who can really pass the ball. I think his playmaking has made a pretty big leap this year. So, I think it's a conversation. I would take Scotty as well.
Okay.
But
the fact that it's even close and the fact that they have three guys is absurd.
It's wild.
Yeah. Okay, Cash, give me another team that has definitively a better young core than BBQ so far.
Well, I'm going to say the Spurs strictly because of Wemby. Like, I think
that's honestly
right.
That's fine.
If you go 1 through 3, you can have a conversation. But if you're just going by like upside and even overall talent among the top 3, I think Wembanyama is so good and is going to be so good and so transcendent that you have to take the Spurs here. Like, even as I've been as big a believer and supporter of Scotty Barnes almost from the beginning, I still, you know, am very high on how good he's going to be, even better than he already is. If things go the way they should and both stay healthy, even as good as Scotty Barnes is going to be, he's not going to touch what Victor Wembanyama is at his best if he stays healthy. So, like,
no, Wemby's literally an alien, man.
You have to put the Spurs ahead of them strictly because of that.
It doesn't even matter who else the other two are because it's like Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell's kind of where I landed on that. I mean, like, Vassell.
I would say Vassell and Sohan.
Yeah.
I think the fact
that you like Sohan? I watch him when I get annoyed, but I get he's a young guy. But I'm like,
I just don't know what he is yet. You know what I mean? Like, he came into the league with this defensive reputation.
I don't see him locking down like that.
I just think he doesn't really have the strength to do it right now, especially in terms of like the types of assignments that they give him. You know, it's like you'll see him matched up against Kawhi, and he just
nobody
gets put in the weight room. Like, I don't know what he is, but I think the fact that they have been doing this experimentation with him signals that they see him as part of their long-term future. And I think Vassell is pretty good. Like, probably not a secondary guy on like a contender, but maybe a really good tertiary piece on a contending team. So, like, that would be the 3 if I was picking. But
what do you think about Vassell as like a comp for Quickly in a way? Do you see similarities there? I know like the Maxey thing got thrown out immediately. Until he shoots better than 40% from 2, he's not Maxey to me. But yeah.
Or just like shows the ability to get to the rim with more frequency.
Yeah.
That's not terrible. Vassell's bigger.
Vassell is bigger. He's stronger for sure. He's got a bigger frame.
But in terms of, you know, the way they operate as like pick and roll ball handlers and where they like to do their damage, like Vassell's more mid range oriented. Quickly's more like 3-point and floater range. Like, those are sort of his 2 zones, whereas Vassell, I feel like, is more like a mid range merchant. But it's not bad.
Okay. All right. Not bad. Okay, so we got OKC right now, and San Antonio is definitely better. I'm going to go with Memphis.
Yeah.
John Morant is 24. Jaren Jackson is 24. Desmond Bane is 25. They fit, and, I mean, we're talking about 3 all-star, 3 guys who are making max. Vince Williams is not going to make this list, but if we expand it to 4, he would be in this list, just based on what I saw. Him just cooking Gradey Dick one-on-one at the end of a game.
He's sick.
Yeah, he's nice, but I don't even think I have to explain this one too much. Like, we're just talking about 3 All-Stars here. Like,
the only thing, that could make you obviously have to explain it would be
Ja,
right. The off-court stuff with Ja, but
right. I mean,
given
if he
what
just
he looked like,
uninstalls Instagram, I think we're pretty good on this one.
Given what he looked like in the 9 games this season after missing almost like a year, not a year, but a lot of action over the last year, for him to come back and look as good as he did. If he comes back next season, nothing happens off the court between now and then, this is a no-brainer with Memphis.
Okay. Wolfond, back to you. Do you have another team that has a young core that's definitively better than BBQ?
Orlando.
Okay. All right. Give me what the Orlando. I had Orlando as my probably better, but let's talk. Let's just go with the Orlando one.
So Paolo Franz, obviously, Franz. And then I put Suggs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you could put, like, Wendell Carter Jr., Cole Anthony, Anthony Black.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I don't think,
Suggs is ahead of those guys, at least this season.
Yeah.
But,
who's the best of the 6 between Orlando's 3 and right now you're taking Paolo or Scotty?
Scotty.
Yeah, same.
Would you take? Well, I mean, then you would take one over Franz then as well. That's why I had this conversation. I had him probably better because I don't think the Raptors
Franz
have a
are
second
like
prospect.
1A, 1B. Like you go from Scotty to like whether you think RJ or Quickly is the better prospect. There's a huge gulf there.
So if you were to draft all 6 of those guys like Cash's exercise, you take Scotty first, and then you would go Paolo, Franz, and then you would pick like RJ or Quickly, and then Suggs probably 6.
I might take Suggs over RJ.
Yeah, I was gonna say Wolfond might go Suggs 4.
Oh wow!
I mean, he's been arguably the best defensive guard in basketball.
Would you take him over Quickly going forward? Like not what they are right now. You're building for the future. Would you take Jalen Suggs or Emmanuel Quickly?
Man, it's so context dependent. You know, like I think on a team where you have, I think the Magic still need it like an actual lead guard. So if
I think they would be sick with Quickly.
Yeah. So it's tough to say. I guess if it came down to it, in a vacuum, I'd probably take Quickly. Because just in terms of what he can do as a creator and as a shooter, I think that's maybe something you'd value a little bit more. But that's also like you're thinking of him as a building block. And you're saying, okay, if you're choosing between building blocks, you probably want the guy who can create efficient offense for you or be a really good complementary piece for a dynamic offense in a way that Suggs hasn't necessarily proven he can be just yet. Orlando's offense is down pretty bad right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but
they're falling back to 500.
But he's shooting the ball better this year. He's like got some real downhill juice, and just his defense I rate so highly. And it would be not an easy decision. So I think that's why I'd ultimately have the Magic ahead of the Raps. Pretty definitive.
Did you have Orlando ahead of the Raptors as well?
I had them like neck and neck, but I'd probably give the Raptors the edge only because I think Barnes is the best of the 6.
All right. I like that we had disagreement.
I'll give you the Pacers, though.
You got the Pacers. Yeah, I got the Pacers ahead, too. Yeah.
It's Tyrese Halliburton, who is impacting offense like few players in history ever have. Yeah. That's how good Tyrese Halliburton has been this season, and he's 25 and under.
He's 23.
Yeah. Like, in 2 years, he could still be in this exercise.
Yeah.
And so you have that guy, and then take your pick of any 2 of the collection of promising young Pacers players that are
not Raptors.
that are somehow still Pacers.
That's not what the Raptors
that are somehow still Pacers, despite the fact they traded for Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
So, I'm putting them ahead of the Raptors.
Yeah, I think Halliburton alone, I think, it's just, you got to give him that respect. I mean, he's leading a historic offense, man.
Yeah. So I'll just jump in to say I had a whole tier of teams that I put ahead of the Raptors, and the tier was called mainly here because of one guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because like for me, I'm going to take Luka, for example.
Boston and Dallas. Boston and Dallas.
Wemby.
Yeah.
Luka, Zion, Halliburton.
Okay, the Zion point I had probably better, but we should probably talk.
If you're just going pure talent, if you're going what I actually expect over the next few years based on the past and like what we should realistically expect from these guys, I just can't bring myself. I get where you're coming from. I just can't bring myself to put that faith in Zion Williams.
At this point, yeah.
But then Trey Murphy, like, would you not? You take him over RJ, right?
Yeah,
probably, yeah.
Long term?
Yeah.
Maybe take him over Quickly.
Yeah, I think I'd take him over Quickly as well.
Herb, Jordan Hawkins. Dyson Daniels. I know we said 3 guys, but I think they have a depth of young talent that is.
Yeah.
How old is Ingram at this point? Is he
26?
He's 26. Okay, he missed.
So he's aged out of this convo, but
I don't know, man. I just don't want to roll the dice on Zion no more, man.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's context dependent.
I'm fine if you put them behind the Raptors in this specific conversation, but like the upside with Zion still to me, puts them in a bit of a different conversation. But like, so that's my tier of like teams, and Halliburton.
Boston is there too. Tatum's still 25.
Okay,
for
another
Boston
month. One is silly because you can't even pick up 2 more prospects on their team.
But it's still like he's going to be 26 in a month or 2. But you gotta at least give me 2 names for who else is part of that.
The next prospects are like Delano and like Neemias Queta, like
Peyton Pritchard.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But you give me Jason Tatum and 2 replacement level players between the ages of 19 and 25. You're telling me you wouldn't take, if right now you had the option, if you're the Raptors, to instead of starting with Barnes, Quickly, and Barrett, you have the option to start with Jason Tatum where he is right now. You're telling me you'd be like, no, let me see the other 2 guys.
I don't know, man. I'd agonize over the phone a little bit.
No, I would take Jason Tatum. I love Scotty.
All right.
I'm very high on what Quickly can be. I've been impressed by RJ's Raptors tenure so far. Mm-hmm. There is no chance I hesitate if I have the chance to switch those 3 guys for having Jason Tatum, even at 25, even though he's like 3 years older than Barnes, 25 to wherever, however long you have him. I take Tatum.
Okay, so I didn't hear Cleveland on this list because I was curious about that.
Well, that's a different tier. That's like
that's a different tier for you because they got Mobley 22, Garland 24, Allen
still
25.
Above the Raptors, to be clear.
Okay, they're above the Raptors. Okay, cool.
But not in the tier of they're only here because of one guy, or mainly here because of one guy.
Is it because? So again, going back to Cash's like practice of like if we're gonna line up the 2 groups and just draft the 6, like Scotty, I would probably take Scotty over any of these 3. Yeah. But then I would take the other 3 over RJ and Quickly.
Yes.
At that point, I'm like, probably Cleveland is a little bit ahead.
Cleveland's ahead for sure for me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's have a
I think what maybe holds Cleveland back in terms of like a long-term projection for that group is maybe there's still some doubt about whether Mobley and Allen works long-term, especially in the playoffs. We've seen it work really well in the regular season, but
that's fair. Lights were brighter than expected, et cetera, et cetera. But it is kind of interesting to me though that they're playing really good basketball right now with some injuries. And there is like a level of clarity to how Cleveland is playing.
And they're number 6 on offense since Mobley went down, I think, which is interesting, right? Because the defense, there was never a concern. Right. And even without Mobley, if you go by since Mobley and Garland have both been out of the lineup starting December 15th, when I think Cleveland's 13-4 since then, they're still number 1 on defense, even without Mobley, for like 5 weeks.
Damn.
And the difference is their offense went from 22nd to 6th.
Marvin Bagley the 4th. Okay. Minnesota? Jesus. You definitely have Minnesota in this list, right? Because they have the Edwards. Yeah. I mean, Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid, I guess, surrounded.
That's how I filled it out as well.
Okay, so let's have a conversation then about Atlanta, for example. Atlanta's interesting to me. They got Trae Young at 25, Jalen Johnson at 22, and then I put Onyeka Okongwu at 23. I think that's probably their third best prospect.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty good, but then again, Atlanta just doesn't win games like the Raptors don't win games. So what is there something missing with that kind of current group as is? Or is it a fit issue? Like, curious to hear your thoughts on Atlanta.
I think as we've probably all discussed at various points over the last few years, as magnificent a player and as dazzling a playmaker and, as deep as his range is for Trae Young, it is hard to construct a winner around him. Or there are more challenges that come with trying to construct a winner around him than usually come with stars of his talent.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean it can't happen or it won't happen at some point, but it is different than, say, and I know we're talking about 2 different positions and player types, but still, the point stands. It is different than, say, like when I was just talking about Jason Tatum a few minutes ago, right? When I was like, look, just give me that guy.
Yeah.
I'll take him over the 3 Raptors guy, and I'll figure it out because of his.
You can play any style you want, really, as well. Yeah.
With Trae, if you have him in that kind of superstar tier, he's at the bottom of it because the point of superstars is they're supposed to be able to, like, give you the ability to just figure out the rest later. Give me that guy and figure out the rest later, and I'll figure out the rest later. Sorry. With Trae, you can't do that. Yeah. With Trae, it's like, all right, I'll take him, and I love the talent and all this and the offensive side of the ball, but I have a lot of questions to answer now elsewhere and fit-wise. Like, it's just not as seamless as you want it to be.
Sure.
From a star of that perceived caliber.
He does take a lot off the table. I agree with you. But at the same time, though, on paper, that's pretty talented as a top 3, especially with the way Jalen Johnson's, jumped this year.
Yeah, I had them one spot ahead
of the Raptors. Okay,
and it's mainly because I think that Jalen Johnson is a stud.
Yeah, I agree.
Potential future All-Star.
Did you see the game where they beat Philly in overtime?
No.
Okay, Jalen Johnson went literally every play in overtime. He was scoring, he was defending, he was stealing the ball. Man, I don't know. I think I had this idea that okay, he's breaking out, but it's just almost like a better John Collins. No, he's so much better than John Collins.
I told you early in the season, you asked me about this. I'm like, watch out for this dude. And because people were talking about, right. If Atlanta's interested in Pascal, maybe we can get Jalen Johnson.
Dude, if Jalen Johnson was ever on the table, that deal should have been made. 100%.
I don't think. I mean, maybe in the offseason before he proved that this, he could be the player that he's shown he can be this year.
Even
pre-breakout, maybe
Kobe Buffkin and AJ Griffin.
Yeah, I don't remember ever hearing his name.
Honestly, I would have taken Kobe Buffkin and AJ Griffin, given what as I said on Pound the Rock last week, they couldn't even get a Ben Shepherd. For God's sake,
they couldn't even get a Ben Shepherd. Yeah,
but yeah,
great mustache, by the way. A young guy with a mustache, you rarely see that combination.
Yeah, well, does Bruce Brown have a mustache? Am I making that up?
He does have a little bit of a mustache. Yeah,
he's 27 though; it doesn't count.
No, but it's not as bushy as Ben Shepherd's mustache. Man. Every time I watch him, I'm like, what? You look like a '90s rookie.
It matches the hustle, though. If you watch him play,
yeah. I like him. He stood out in summer league as well. Okay, what about Portland? Portland was a conversation that I think maybe coming into the year, if you told me that okay, Scotty, Quickly, and RJ are going to team up, and those 3 are they better prospects than Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, and Scoot Henderson, you'd probably go with Portland. But I don't know. Scoot's been so aggressively underwhelming as a rookie offensively that it's tough.
Also, those guys are all guards. I don't think the fit is quite as complimentary as the Raptors guys.
I also think as much as I like each one of those Portland youngsters, and I really like Simons, I think he's underrated. I think the gap between Scotty's ceiling, even where Scotty is now, let alone his ceiling, and any of those 3 guys is quite sizable.
Okay. That's fair. I had Portland below the Raptors as well. Houston is interesting. Şengün is making this jump.
Above.
They're above for you?
Yeah.
Okay, give me the case for why Houston was Şengün, Jabari, and who was your third for Houston?
Tari Eason.
Tari Eason, okay.
But it could be Amon Thompson. It's not Jalen Green for me right now, but that's why it's tough with Houston, because they got
a lot of guys. Cam Whitmore's show me something.
That's the thing. They got 6 guys. If you want to include Jalen Green, who I'm a little bit out on right now, but fine, yeah. You could throw out 6 guys where you're this is a young core where any or all of these guys could be part of a really good team moving forward. And I know they've had a lot of veteran help in getting them to the level they're at. They've sort of accelerated their rebuild, but I mean, they're kind of feels like they're ahead of schedule, which is maybe weird to say because they picked at the top of the draft 3 years in a row. But
yeah, what was their schedule? Because it seemed like their GM was going to get fired, and then they made all these signings, and I don't think he's going to get fired now.
Yeah, so maybe ahead of schedule is not the right way to put it, but I think they've made a leap. I don't think we quite expected them to be as good as they've been this year.
I agree, for sure.
So Şengün is a superstar to me. I think, honestly, I would probably take him ahead of Scotty at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Şengün a lot. I don't think I would. I think it's close. I'm not quite there. I wouldn't take him over Scotty.
I just think So Scotty has the two-way ability that Şengün is maybe never going to have, and that's an important consideration.
But the floor for his defense has gone a lot higher this year, and that was the huge concern. Yeah,
he's been much better defensively. So has Scotty, for the record.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So with Şengün, I just see him as being the type of guy who can be an offensive hub.
Yeah.
In the manner, and I'm not making this comparison, but in the manner of like a Jokic, an Embiid, on a lower level like a Sabonis, somebody you can basically run everything through.
Okay.
And derive really efficient offense from that. And I just don't know if Scotty can ever be that type of player. Maybe I'm underselling him, but
here's the thing: I don't think it's underselling because Şengün is that talented offensively. Like what you're saying is Şengün can pretty much always get you an efficient 2.
Yeah,
and that's a huge skill. Like that's always going to draw help. He's always shown to be a really good passer, and there are things
really,
that he can come
really
up,
crafty post player. Like such nice footwork.
Totally, balance is amazing. He stretches. He finishes with either hand. Like it's nice. I get it. I think the case for Scottie is just like he's more of a two-way guy, and you might be able to fit potentially more pieces around him because he is so flexible. We've already seen him play a variety of roles. Like, if you told me Scottie played small ball 5 the whole time, like, he could give you like a ton of production. We've seen that consistently over his 3-year career so far with the Raptors. But that one's really close for me too. But
I think
I'd probably go with Scottie.
Same. I'd go with Scottie because I think and I've said this before, even when we were comparing like Barnes to Mobley. And I know Mobley's a very different player than Şengün. I'm not, but what I said at the time was like
one-way players, both of them.
Yeah, and in general, if you give me two prospects that I'm pretty similarly high on in terms of overall talent, or whatever, but one of them is a prototypical, like, obviously not LeBron, but like in that LeBron body mold kind of thing, like point forward type on offense, who can basically guard all 5 positions on defense, who's going to run the offense in a more traditional sense. I know Şengün can be a hub, but he's not like running the offense per se. Give me the guy who's going to be able to kind of run the offense, quote unquote, be that point forward and still give you something on defense. I'll take that guy over the big man hub who can't defend.
The thing is that offense has changed.
Yeah, fair.
Like when you talk about run the offense, like offenses don't really run the way that they did even like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
Like hub-centric offense is kind of all the rage right now. All these offenses are running stuff through the elbow, triangle principles. Like
you're like Stefan on Saturday Night Live right now. Post-hub offenses is all the rage.
I don't even know what that means.
Okay. Let's just keep going.
I guess I just mean
like if I'm anyway, please.
Is this a flattering comp or unflattering?
It's neither. It's not flattering
it's
or
neutral.
it's just
great.
No, it's not a bad thing.
No,
so,
you're right. Yeah, post hub offenses are really in vogue, and
I just think so like looking toward the future, I'm not certain that having a type of oversized ball handler, as valuable as that archetype obviously can be, is necessarily more valuable than having somebody who can run a really, really effective high post or elbow centric offense. So,
I think for me, the difference here between like Scottie versus Şengün is like if Scottie gets like a go-to scoring move that he can consistently hit, like a Kawhi, like mid-range, like pull-up, for example. And of course, I was asking for a lot. Kawhi has like an incredible all-time mid-range pull-up. But like if he gets that one scoring move that consistently gets him baskets one-on-one, and that also consistently forces us to double team him, then I feel like I'm pretty comfortably taking over Şengün. Right now, though, Şengün is just so good offensively, as you mentioned, and the flexibility that you can do with that type of offense. I mean, that's why the conversation is closer to me.
But also, shout out Jabari Smith and Tari Eason, who are really, really good defensive prospects. And Whitmore, who's like obviously very raw, but just like crazy athlete and looking like he can definitely be something. And I just wanted to like quickly throw out the stat because I'm obsessed with it, but just to prove kind of what a gunner he is right now and how far he still has to go in spite of his raw tools. But 137 field goal attempts this season and 35 free throw attempts. So we're talking about something in the range of like 150 or more true shooting attempts. 6 assists.
What?
Oh,
wow.
So he's got to find a little bit more balance between calling his own number and creating for others. But but I like the outline of him as a player as well.
Sure.
I'll throw in one more thing. I'm not sure how much time we have before.
Just last thought. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. And it's just, and I obviously, I don't want to dump on the Raptors' future because I remain high on Scottie.
We're kind of concluding they're around like 10, 11.
Yeah, and I'm still obviously so high on Scottie's ceiling and what that can bring to franchise. So I don't want to dump too much on it. But the one thing I will say is a lot of times people do kind of get too wrapped up in the like young core thing and the 25 and under thing when it's like, not that it doesn't matter, but for example, like we haven't talked about Milwaukee and Denver, right? Or Philly. Like Giannis is 29. I think Embiid's the same. Jokic is 28. They're not 25 and under. I would still take those guys for the last couple of years of their 20s and the first years of their 30s than anyone 20. Like,
that's not what we're doing
but what I'm saying is,
we're doing a Raptor show, man.
I know, but my point is that a team could have a very bright future in terms of like young talent, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything just because teams that are a lot better than them today are also a lot older than them. Like that doesn't mean 2 years from now it's all of a sudden going to switch.
No, definitely not. I'm signing up for Jokic's 30s ahead of like pretty much any other guy's 20s.
So that's the thing. It's like, okay, yeah, Denver isn't one of the teams we ranked whose young core ranks ahead of them, but we're still ranking their future ahead of the Raptors. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I just thought it would be a fun exercise.
No, it is. I'm not dumping on the exercise.
No, it's all good.
I'm not dumping on the exercise.
We're going to take this break now because you dumped on the exercise. All right, I've been your host, Will. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Will. I got the Pound the Rock crew. Subscribe to Pound the Rock. You get to hear Cash and Wolfond argue over, Onyeka Okongwu or something like that. Some kind of fringe topics, in addition to all the, super topical NBA news around the league. Okay, so something, I know that you guys will probably do something similar to this, but I was thinking about this in the sense that Milwaukee clearly is so desperate to win the chip this year. Absolutely. If not this year, next year, the pressure is on because they literally fired Adrian Griffin, even though he led the team to 30-13 record. Now, whatever. I mean, were the Bucks playing to their potential? I don't think anyone who watched them this year would say that as a definitive yes. But, they clearly, to me, were a championship or bust team. And I was curious because I wanted to get your thoughts on just a couple of these teams. And you just tell me if they are actually championship or bust teams. Because there's some teams in here that are, to me, conference finals or bust. Like, if they get to conference finals, they'd be pretty happy. Bucks, absolutely championship or bust.
So here's what I'll say. I think that there's three things to be championship or bust, right? It's maybe your best guys are on expiring contracts. They're usually veteran teams that have been knocking on the door, can't get over the hump. And if they don't win it this year, they may never get another shot with this core. Okay. And to be honest, I actually don't think there's one team that checks all of the boxes. And the reason for that is because the teams that are most all in, it's Milwaukee, Phoenix, and who am I missing? And the Clippers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about Phoenix.
Well, the thing is, Giannis extended, right? And even Kawhi just extended.
Yeah.
And in the case of the Suns, they're veteran, they're old, they're aging. But all three of those big three, you could
they're locked in.
Quibble over whether it's a good fit and whether they should have done it, but they're all locked in for at least a couple of years. So I don't think there's a true team that's absolutely if we don't win the championship this year, this whole thing is a failure. But I think those three teams check two of those three boxes, right? In that they're aging cores.
Okay.
Some of them have been knocking on the door and haven't gotten over the hump. Milwaukee obviously got one. But those are the three that are the closest to absolutely all in. Okay. It's the Bucks, the Clippers, and the Suns.
Okay. All right. This is
that's my top three. But I hate to do this because I know Cash dumped on your last segment already. But
let's go. We're going 2 for 2.
I just sort of reject championship or bust as a premise.
Sometimes it qualifies. Sometimes it qualifies.
Wolfond, what we're doing is called sports radio. All right.
It's hard to win, man. Hard to win.
I reject the premise. That's not what we do around here. No, I'm kidding. No, go ahead though.
But if we're doing championship desperation index, then that's definitely the top three.
Got you. Okay. Where does Boston rank on this list? Because I had them as championship or bust. So they're not good at bust, I suppose, because their team is again locked in or whatever. But the expectation is clearly that they want to win a chip this year. They look like on paper the best team in the league.
Yeah, I kind of had them. So I had the second tier as Sixers, Wolves, and Heat as teams that at the very least they need to have super deep runs. I don't think they're a championship or bust. Those top three are close to it. But right. I think each of those teams, when you look at whether it's the cores being aging or in the case of Minnesota, potential tax ramifications coming that they might not actually, everyone just assumes it's Ant, Cat, and Gobert. But I don't know if they're going to have all three of those guys going forward because once those tax implications come, they might have to move Cat. So sneakily, this might be their last year.
Interesting.
So I have them in that second tier with Miami and Philly. Because even Philly, everything's going well in Nurse's first year. Maxi's established himself as a second-year star. But there was reporting early in the year after they made the Harden trade that what they do with the assets they got from the Harden trade and also how they do in the playoffs could determine whether Joel Embiid asks for a trade or not this summer. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I don't think you can completely rule that off.
Yeah. They
on the clock.
So they're in the second tier.
They got to get past the second round.
Yes. But
but are they happy if they lose in the conference finals? Is this a team that they're okay, you know what? We broke through and next year.
I think it's more palatable to them than it is to the Bucks or the Clippers or the Suns.
Yeah, but it also matters how it happens.
Okay.
If they beat Milwaukee in the second round and go down swinging against a really good Celtics team in the conference finals.
They're losing 7 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're happy about it, but that definitely feels like significant progress.
Okay.
If the bracket breaks for them in such a way that it's like maybe they beat the Knicks in the second round and it doesn't look all that impressive, and then they get stomped by Boston or Milwaukee in the conference finals,
right.
Then it's just like always context dependent, I guess. But they have to get past the second round this year. They just have to.
Well,
the reason I had Boston in a tier below those teams, despite being obviously the best team on paper, is that like if you look at Boston's top six, and we talk about that they have the best top six, and there's not a lot of depth. All 6 of those guys are locked in for next year. And again, once the Tatum extension kicks in a couple years, that's when, kind of similar to what I was saying with Minnesota, the tax implications come in and they're going to have to make some decisions. But for at least next year, they still have their top 6 locked in. And so again, while I think for sure there's pressure for them to win, they've been to the finals with this core. They're always in the conference finals. They haven't won one yet. I just can't bring myself to say Boston's as close to all in as the other 6 teams I mentioned, because the best team in basketball with an overwhelming advantage in their top 6 should be able to bring back the exact top 6 next year.
Yeah. They're the team that can look at themselves and be like, we're going to have another really good shot at this.
But that's what I feel like Boston's been doing in so many consecutive years.
For sure.
And I just look, like, at a certain point, you like their version of the Sixers not being as a second round is just not winning the championship, period, right? Like, their team is so good, and they're so good in the regular season that it doesn't even matter. It's a joke to them. When they play the Raptors, let's rest like 2-3 stars. We'll still beat them kind of deal. Like, they're so good that, like, I feel like you're almost taking them off the hook if you don't say that they need to win the chip this year. Even though I get it. Like, they're sustainable. They can run the whole group back. I don't know,
I
man.
think, again,
maybe that's just the hater in me, man. I can't wait to hate on Boston when they lose again this year.
I hear you, but I think there's a difference between, like, they'll be disappointed if they don't win the championship versus they really need to get over the hump this year. And I can't bring myself to say, knowing that, again, 5 of the 6 are for sure under team control next year. Drew Holiday's got like a $39 million player option. I'm assuming he'll pick up. For the most part, they should have those 6 guys back next year. It's hard for me to say
I know.
They need to win it this year when they should be able to bring back what's going to be like a 65-win team going into next year.
All right, real quickly, we didn't hear, I don't think I heard Lakers, and I don't think I heard Nuggets.
So I
the conference finalists out west.
I had Lakers Warriors in the tier with Sixers, Wolves, Heat, but as like they're in the tier, but it's kind of fugazi. It's fake because they're in that tier, but do any of us from what we've seen from either team realistically expect, like, they're barely clinging to play-in life. And in the case of the Warriors, they're not even in a play-in spot.
Yeah.
They don't deserve to have these expectations heaped upon them, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. You're right.
But from a roster construction standpoint, age, tax implications, all that, they do fit the
They got superstar pressure, but their team is not even that good.
They can come out and say, well, the season's championship or bust for us, but then it's like, oh, okay, so it's bust.
Then you're starting on the road in the play-in tournament. You're not a championship or bust team.
I did have again, not championship or bust, but if we're talking like make the second round or bust, I had the Cavs kind of in that tier with Minnesota. Because like they've got the Mitchell, thing hanging over them a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, they shelled out a lot of stuff to get him.
No, I know.
And if
I just don't take them seriously. I'm sorry. They can win as much as they want in the regular season. It doesn't matter to me, man.
Well, but what, you don't take them seriously as a team that could win a first round series?
No, they can win in one round. They can win.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're gonna do any better than that. I just feel like if they go out in the first round again, then that's an existential crisis for sure. And probably they're looking at trading Mitchell in the offseason. So they have a lot riding on winning a round, and then Minnesota as well, who haven't won a playoff series in 20 years, I want to say. They won 2 playoff series in 2004, which are the only 2 series they won in franchise history. Yeah, they got to win a round.
They got to win a round. Well, if you want context-dependent podcasting on the NBA, check out Pound the Rock. But I appreciate you guys, Cash and Wolfond, helping me once again. And we're going to let you guys go. We're going to take a break. We're going to get to that Darko Rajaković interview afterwards. But in the meantime, I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, William Liu. Thanks once again to Cash and Wolfond for joining us in Hour 1. To start Hour 2, I was able to get down to Raptors practice yesterday for a one-on-one sit-down with Raptors head coach Darko Rajaković. We're able to cover just a lot of topics. I mean, the whole roster has changed over. He's a new coach himself, how his style of play has been integrated with the team. And, of course, Darko's been in the news a lot recently. A turbulent last 2 weeks for him as well. So we're able to get into all of that. Big thanks to Raptors PR for helping to set up the opportunity to chat with the coach So without further ado, here is my conversation with Raptors head coach Darko Rajaković. We're down here at Raptors practice with head coach Darko Rajaković. Coach, wanted to check in with you. It's about halfway through the season right now. Look, results-wise, the record isn't necessarily where you guys want to be, but process-wise, how are you finding the process of this team? Because Masai had said something in his press conference where he said Darko's play style is really sustainable. So I wanted to hear about your thoughts on the process of how the things have gone this year.
Definitely we have a team that's in the making. We had a lot of changes on the roster, and it really feels like a new, fresh start of the season for us. And today and tomorrow we have 2 days before we play Clippers, and it really feels like a training camp in a sense. So we were able to implement a lot of stuff offensively and defensively that we did not have chance to talk to the guys and teach them in past week or two. But it's really that. It's a process. Right now with the team is shaping the team around our core players, around Scotty and Quickly and RJ and a young group of guys that we have, and really looking forward to get Yak back with us to establish that chemistry with him as well. I think those are the most important things in preparation to finish this season, but also leading into the next season.
Great. So I know coming into the year, a lot of the talk was about the ball movement is going to change on this team. We have seen that. You guys are third in the league, I believe, in passes per game, second in assists per game. How are you finding this new group in being able to execute that? And sort of what were the initial challenges when you wanted to put that style of play in?
For sure, challenges because players coming from different teams with different habits. That was our biggest emphasis today on the court regarding offense. We wanted to put guys on the court to understand the spacing and to understand the flow. We're giving players freedom to play with, but also there is a responsibility that comes with that. Ball movement, body movement is something that's very important, and that's not going to change. That doesn't matter who's on our roster. That's something that I believe is very sustainable in the long run, and something that's going to help us to build a team in the future.
Do you think, because of the trades now, you've had a lot more guards on the roster than when you started the season, for example. Does that make it easier to play .5 basketball, considering that a lot of it is deciding to shoot, pass, or drive the ball in a short span of time?
It is. It makes us faster offensively. It makes us a little bit smaller defensively. Yeah. Right now we're struggling with our defensive rebounding, and that's something that we got to continue to focus on and get better. But offensively, I really think that ball movement, and especially when we open up the floor with more shooters and more shooting capabilities, it's going to help with our ball movement even more.
Okay. So I want to ask you about some of the new guys that have joined the team. RJ, I think, has really hit the ground running. He's shooting 56% from the field since coming to the Raptors. And I looked it up. He's only taken 3 mid-range shots in 12 games since coming to Toronto. What were the conversations like that you've had with RJ about taking his game to the next level and getting him to play the right way?
First thing that I talked to RJ is he needs to play as an athlete. I think his athletic ability is still to be developed. I think he did not reach his potential. I want him to play above the rim. I want him to be aggressive. I want him to take spot-up shots and take the ball to the rim. But at the same time, I want him to be playmaker and to make the right decisions. I don't want him to feel that there is any kind of pressure that he has to score. I always say we don't decide how defense is going to guard us. And if they put 2 players on you, he has to be able to find his teammates and find open people. And a great example is in last game we were running an ATO play for him. He touched the paint. He had opportunity to score, but whole defense collapsed, and then he quickly find Gary Trent for wide open 3. So that's kind of like something that we gotta continue developing in his game.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about Emmanuel quickly as well, right? I know you said the other game you wanted him to shoot more threes. You get 8-9 attempts up per game. I'm curious, have you had a lot of players in your career who are as talented as Quickly, who you have to ask them to shoot even more often than they do? Because I feel like most players want to shoot, instead of in this case where you're almost asking them to shoot more.
No, I don't think he has a problem to shoot more threes. I think he's on a new team. He's trying not to come off as, whatever, selfish guy or whatever. Yeah. He's trying to move the ball. He's trying to find his role on a team and how that develops for him. I think it's going to come natural. I would not put too much stake on that. Obviously, I'll try. We're going to try as a team to put him in situations to have more of those opportunities. He's also a guard that really depends on quality of screens. And, first couple of games that he had a chance to play with Yak was really freeing him up. And he was getting more opportunities to shoot floaters and three-point shots. So I think it's going to come naturally. He's a very aggressive player, and that's what we need him to be. He needs to be aggressive to score.
Yeah. Well, I think this might be speaking to the same point about, playing off of a big and all this space that a guy like Jakob right behind us creates with his screening. But notice that his two-point percentage right now is a little bit low. It's under 40%. For the first time in his career. Do you feel like there needs to be some improvements there, or when you look at the film, is it a shot selection? Is it just randomness? Is it I'd just like to hear your diagnosis about his work inside the arc.
It's very hard to assess, just like after whatever it was, that 10-12 games in. I think a big part of his floaters and his mid-range shots, they're coming when a big man frees him up and he has those shots.
Okay.
And lately we did not do a good enough job of freeing him up, so a lot of times he was actually getting contested shots. So we need to do a better job as a team, and me as a coach, to put him in situations to have cleaner and better looks. I think that his shot is just fine, so I believe that he's going to be completely fine there.
Okay, good. Wanted to talk about Scotty as well. So we've seen him take this big jump this year. He's doing a little bit of everything, honestly, especially with Jakob out. He's playing center sometimes. He's double-teaming the ball. He's creating a lot of the offense, drawing double teams. Like pretty much anything you could ask Scotty to do, he's already doing. So we see that on the court. Off the court, how have you seen him grow as a person and as a professional in your time here since joining the Raptors?
I think Scotty is doing a great job. Obviously, everybody can see the progress that he's making on the court. At the same time, he's doing a really good job. He's the one, he's a young player. It's hard for him to be leader with his voice with the guys. But what he does a great job of leading by example. He is putting a lot of work in. He's early coming to the gym. He's also going really hard in every single practice and shoot around, and that sets the tone for everybody else to go and work really hard. So he's making a lot of jumps there. His communication with staff, with coaches, with teammates is really good. So all kudos for Scotty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the vocal leadership part too is interesting because I think, ideally you want your best player to also be your most vocal player as well. But for a guy so young, can he get there? Do you think he can get there to that point where he is like a Kyle Lowry, for example, in Toronto, who kind of told everyone where to be, everywhere how to be, on the court, off the court, and you saw how that sort of lifted the whole organization. Can you see that for Scotty in that kind of future?
Absolutely. I can see that with Scotty, probably not with at the age of 23, but at the later stages of a career, and the more he's learning the league and the game and his teammates, he will be able to do more and more of that. He's speaking up in a team setup, in video sessions, and he's always bringing great points to the table. And he's doing that in the game as well, encouraging his players. I can see a lot of growth in that area for him as well.
Okay, last question about your players before I want to ask about you, Coach. People never ask the coach about the coach. It's always about the players. But with Gradey, I know there was you had mentioned that he went down for a 2-week conditioning stint. Can you just give us more clarity in terms of why that went into that decision, and also what he did specifically in that stint?
And when you have a college player who was only for 1 year in college that comes to NBA, there is a lot of unknown. The league is different, game is different, basketball is different. He played 30-something games. Now he's coming in the league with 82 games, the regular season. There is a lot of change, and a lot of times their body and mind is not prepared for that kind of workload. And we sat down, we analyzed everything what was going on. We found that it's very important for him to get really good continuity work with lift, with our player performance, performance staff and with coaches to work a lot of individually and to really focus on a couple of things that he needs to improve offensively and defensively. And, our staff did a really good job there. In the question of 3 weeks, you could see the difference, the way he was moving on the court, like his body, and he was actually adding some weight there. Okay. It's just something that's for me, it's natural. Not necessarily like just playing every single game is a great thing for player development. Sometimes you need to make, one step behind and work more on your body or mind, and then put those things together through playing with 905 and then playing with us.
Yeah, I noticed, to your point, the assistant coaches that work with him, I know Evo, for example, works a lot with Gradey. A lot of the times they're teaching him things like, how to make a jump pass, or, the proper technique on a closeout, or shooting off the movement and everything like that. I think those little details, especially for a rookie, is so important to transition. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he grows. I know that he's getting more and more minutes now again, and hopefully he keeps that confidence and continues to build. Now, I wanted to ask about you as well. So you've had a couple interesting few weeks. Number one, I want to start with your meeting with Phil Jackson. We know that Alex McKechnie is going to get the assist for that one. But yeah, what did you take out of that, and what do you think of Phil? What comes to mind when you think about Phil Jackson?
Phil Jackson is one of the greatest coaches ever to coach a game. Yeah. Extremely accomplished, won 11 rings with 2 different teams, and he's somebody that I had a chance to read all of his books and to follow his career. Somebody that I admired from afar, and I felt very, very fortunate to have a chance to sit down with him, meet him in person, and to spend almost 2 hours talking basketball, and to create some relationship with him that's going to continue to grow. We were able to talk about state of the game nowadays. We were able to talk about ideas on offense and defense and the player development. It was really, really helpful to see his approach, and there is something special about him, just the way he sees things, like he sees it with a different kind of lenses, and it was very helpful for me to hear that from him.
Okay, so we should expect to see the triangle offense sometime in Toronto?
We'll see.
Okay.
Maybe parts of it.
Yeah, parts of it for sure. I wanted to ask you, so that later that day, you guys play the Lakers, and then, I'm not going to get you fined again, but you had an incredible moment, post-game, and unfortunately that comes with a cost, $25K. Is that the biggest single expense you've had so far?
It is, but it's also worthwhile because all I wanted to do is to protect our team, protect our players, and I just wanted to make a statement there for our guys.
Yeah, well, I think talking to Dennis, for example, I think guys really did appreciate it, the way that you backed up the team in that day. So I'm not going to ask you any further ones on that. I think $25K is already a big enough expense. Speaking of expenses, though, something that kind of went viral this year, I think when Pascal was around, he talked about one day about how, you guys go on these team dinners, and there was this maybe an incentive or 3 wins for, and you would pick up the tab for a team dinner. Is that offer still on the table? And honestly, just how often and how important are these team dinners that you guys have?
I mean, the whole deal there is, it's not about me buying a dinner. It's not about that. It's about just team bonding,
Right.
And I don't have any problem to pick up a tab when we get 3 wins, and I'm really looking forward to get those 3 wins this season, like everybody else. But that's just part of the culture of us being together and sharing for each other and helping each other. And I think every time when we have those team dinners, something good comes out of that. Guys are able to connect. They're able to talk to each other. They leave their cell phones for an hour or 2 hours, and it just like creates that human relationship that's very, very important and not enough developed in our day society.
First off, that's really interesting, and I know Popovich, for example, used to always do this, and I know you have spent some time with the Spurs, but the point about phones. So there was 2 nights ago now, Karl-Anthony Towns scores like 62 points, and I think at halftime all the teammates were like aware that, oh my God, Embiid is also scoring 70 points in that game. So there was almost a competition almost mid-game, but you kind of need to be on your phone at some time in halftime to even be aware of that. Is that something that you've seen happen more and more in the league, and is that something that you do you have rules around phones, for example, in the locker room?
Phones became such an integral part of life of everybody that it's hard to take those phones away. I know what my routine is. I know that before the game I turn my cell phone off, and until I'm done with game and media and coaches meetings, I'm not looking at my phone.
Right.
I am 100% dedicated my time there. With players it might be a little bit different, and
from a different generation.
I'm trying to educate them a little bit on the importance of that communication at the halftime, and just like for them to catch a breath and talk to each other, and instead of just going straight to their phones. But it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not the only head coach in the league that's dealing with this thing. So I got 2 more questions for you, just really quickly. I know on a somber note that your friend Decky had passed last week, and it's been really beautiful to see the tributes that the Warriors have done for him. I saw Partizan also did a tribute for him as well. The fans have been great. You having known him personally, what kind of things have you done to sort of process and care for yourself in this moment? Because I'm sure it's a huge loss for you.
Huge loss for me, huge loss for basketball community, but the biggest loss for his family. I was able to connect with his brother very next day after he passed away, and he said one interesting thing. He said, we cannot be crying, we cannot be, that Decky doesn't want that.
Okay.
He was always about positive things and looking forward, and fighter. He wants us to move on, and that really resonated with me. It just puts things in perspective, and puts things what is the most important in life, and that's family, and that's friends, and that's people that you're surrounded every single day. And we're gonna miss Decky big time. He was an amazing human being, always with a smile on his face, always upbeat and positive, and somebody. His legacy is his smile.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's a lot of strength that comes in positivity as well. And seeing you work well on your team, you always bring positivity, no matter what. Even if the team's losing or in a tough moment, you bring positivity. So I want to give you that credit as well, Coach. Last one, you and your wife Gaga are starting a new charity initiative. Tell us about that initiative and just how that came about and why you want to do it.
We talked about it in the summer, and we set our mind that we want to do something to help community and to give back to community. While we were living in Memphis, we were able to connect with people in the St. Jude's Hospital.
Okay.
And we had a couple of visits there, and it really touched our heart, their mission, and the way how they're treating their patients and how they're helping the kids there. And at the same time, when we came over here in Toronto, we learned about Sick Kids Hospital. Today we'll have an opportunity to visit with them as well.
Yeah.
And we wanted to tie something that, we want to be a team that has a lot of assists and they're playing together on the court and share. But at the same time, I wanted to connect this with the sharing with the community and assisting the community here. So we're going to donate for every assist that our team makes from the start of the season to the end of the season. For each assist, we're going to donate $20, and then we're going to split that between Sick Kids, St. Jude's Hospital, and one children's hospital back in Serbia.
Well, that's a beautiful initiative. And by the way, your team is second in assists, so they're doing a good job backing you up too. Well, Coach, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Open.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was my interview with head coach Darko Rajaković. It was great to sit down with him. Looking at myself on the screen, I look twice as large as him somehow. Maybe that's a forced perspective thing, but yeah, it was great to chat with Darko. And again, thanks to Raptors PR for setting that up. For people who didn't catch that, the initiative is awesome. $20 the Rajaković family is going to donate for every assist by the Raptors, and I think it's continued to showcase like the type of person and the sort of the you can definitely tell that like Darko's just working so closely with people. I think we've had discussions on the show, for example, about the approach, about the tactics. This comes honestly with the territory of any sort of show discussing any team. You're going to talk about the coaching, you're going to agree with some of the tactics, disagree with them, whatever. we talked about some of the quotes, and of course, some of the quotes do have an ability to really circle around and sort of form an overarching narrative over the team. But I think what's undeniable is like Darko is somebody who deeply cares about his players. You see the other game, for example, Memphis comes in. Desmond Bane didn't play in that game, but just getting a warm up in, saw Darko. They had a long chat. And, they have a great relationship there. He played a big part, Darko did, in helping Desmond develop. And you see him actively spending one-on-one time with every single player in the gym. And I think that, of course, you see him talking to Scotty and helping Scotty. Of course, you saw him, talking with Pascal a lot, OG when they were here. But, I mean, I saw one day in practice, we got in, the doors are open, and the players are getting shots up. And Marquise Noel is getting extra shots, and Darko's the one giving closeouts on some of those attempts from Marquise. So it goes up and down the roster. And I think that, that might seem like something that you should just be doing anyway, but it's certainly something that was a first that I've seen in Toronto, being on the court that much individually with all the guys. And, I think it is a unique approach. So, again, I appreciate Darko. Loved hearing his thoughts on just the young guys, his perspective on BBQ, and also Gradey, and we will see how the team grows. Unfortunately, the team is probably not going to win very much in his first season, but that's not all that dissimilar from most head coaches when they step into a new spot. So thanks once again to Darko for the interview, and we are going to take our last break of the day before we bring in Lindsay Dunn to discuss what happened at Raptors practice. So I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Wembanyama. Joining me for the last segment, Lindsay Dunn, CityNews, Raptors 905 sideline host, queen of fits, great fits at the arena every single time. So what's going on, Lindsay?
I did give my boots a shout out that I was wearing yesterday. And thank you. I wish anyone got that on camera, but no one did. So I just thought I'd pat myself on the back right now. But when we talk about great fits, sweater, or as I call it, a hoodie. That is amazing.
Yes. Wow. I'm so happy you asked me about that in an organic way, because I'm here to tell you that this is actually part 2 of CCYA's Raptors and Bruce Lee collaboration. So I know we had, a program about a month ago where we brought them in and talked about sort of just a collaboration they're doing with the Raptors. And, so it's celebrating the Year of the Dragon, which is coming up for all you mostly Chinese kids, but also the rest of Lunar New Year celebrators. That's February 10th here. But it's going to be the Year of the Dragon. The dragon has significance because, obviously, Bruce Lee's name in Chinese is Little Dragon Li Xiaolong. The Raptors in Chinese is a variation of dragon, Meng Long. And, it's the Year of the Dragon. So CCYA is dropping a 3-piece capsule this Friday at 12 p.m. So that's January 26th, so tomorrow, 12 p.m. Go to the website, ccya.org, to shop. You'll get 3 things in that. You'll get this hoodie, which is sick. You'll get the Game of Death slim fit long sleeve tee, which is, it's hard to describe this on radio, but basically the Bruce Lee outfit, the yellow one with the stripe, that Kill Bill kind of you get one of those with the Raptors on it as well. And then you got a snapback cap with the Year of the Dragon Raptors Bruce Lee logo. Proceeds of the drop will be going to the Bruce Lee Foundation along with local nonprofit, the CCYA. So again, that drop is Friday, tomorrow at 12 p.m. Go to their website, ccya.org/shop. Wow, Lindsay, that was an organic conversation we just had.
Organic, and time is up. It was nice seeing you today. I thank you so much also for giving me that after, for appearing on the show. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
You know what, Clement True, I'm going to have to request one more. So you had just come from Raptors practice. It actually cut it a little close. Raptors having these training camps these days.
Yeah.
What was going on at Raptors practice, Lindsay?
Well, they're practicing. There were some good vibes, as we say. They were smiling, and
we're back to vibes.
We got back to vibes. I know I know they don't have the words up there of positive reinforcement that we saw earlier in the season.
Why not? Why did they stop doing those?
I'm gonna blame you guys.
What do we do?
No, I'm just kidding. Everyone was tweeting out the funny quotes or whatever that they'd have on, and then I think they just stopped doing it. I don't actually know why they did it, but come on. I'm sure that had something to do with it. I'm just teasing, but Jakob Poeltl spoke today. He's not going to be playing tomorrow. He spoke about, Pascal Siakam being traded for the first time since it happened, because we don't get to talk to them when they're injured for the most part. And I don't know if you guys played the clips or heard it. It was a sad moment for Yak.
No, we didn't play the clip, and we don't have it loaded up, but I do have the quote here. So this is Jakob, Pascal, his friend, getting traded for the second time now, because
bench mob brothers.
This is the second time the front Messiah has been like, you know what? Actually, last time he traded Jakob away, this time he traded Pascal away, just not keeping them together. But the quote is from Jakob, "It was tough because he was the guy I was closest to on the team. I guess I was mentally prepared for it a little bit because there were so many rumors, but it's still really sad for me to basically lose my best friend on the team." Yeah,
sad
tough.
Face.
I know what that feeling's like. No,
yeah, it was a moment that I'm going to leave that beside him with the mic and right beside him. And I was trying not to audibly go, "Aw."
It is kind of one of those.
We forget, I can't imagine what that's like. Say you're here the next day and then they're like, "By the way, we're just going to have you go work somewhere else from now on, starting tomorrow with nobody really that you know. You kind of know them because you've seen them in passing at other events, but go there after having all your besties here."
Damn.
They're people, and
you're right.
I've been covering this team for 10 years in person, so before they even came to the franchise and just saw their friendship, immediately they connected and they're buddies. Now they're not teammates anymore, and you could hear it in his voice and see it hurts.
Did his voice crack, or was there any sign of?
Oh, he straight up cried. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
That did not happen. That did not happen.
It's hard to imagine that with Jakob somehow. Yeah.
It was Yak. His voice didn't cry. He handled it well, and I was surprised that he did give a bit of an emotional response. So I was glad that he was honest about how it truly impacted him. But it was a sad moment. But other than that, there's a lot of screaming. You have Garrett Temple and them still doing their fun little game that happens during practice.
Right. I think Bruce Brown has joined the 3-point contest at him, Dennis, and it's just those three actually.
Yeah, because before Malachi was in there, and you see them running around. You saw him smiling.
Ron Harper was in there. He's gone too.
So maybe Bruce shouldn't be a part of that group then.
Oh,
what I'm
getting
it's a curse
game.
Ooh, I'm going there.
You know what? You have a point. You do have a point actually, because Bruce probably is the next one out the door. Who else spoke at practice?
Dennis Schroeder, friend of the show here.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he was asked about, his name being surrounded in trade rumors, which he's like, "Hey, I've been in this league 11 years. Every single year my name's been brought up and I've only been traded once." And at that point, it was quite vocal and really getting a lot of traction that you kind of knew it was going to happen. But he said, other than that, you just keep going on with your day. And he's been speaking to some of the younger players, which is pretty much half the squad.
That is half the squad.
Yeah. About what this is. Try to just not listen to the noise and just do your game and worry about you, because you can't control it for the most part.
There is an incredible amount of compartmentalization you have to do to be a pro athlete. You have so many people talking about you at all times. You have to ignore that. You have a lot of people critiquing or praising. You got to ignore that. You have uncertainty. Honestly, a lot of times people don't even know what's going to happen to them. You would love for it to be full communication throughout, and you get some heads up and a warning. In this case, I think for Pascal, I think he kind of had a little bit of a heads up, a little bit of a warning that it was coming. I mean, if you saw any trade rumor, you would have known. But, we also had cases like DeMar where it was Masai literally told him, you're good, man. You're good. We're going to run it back. And then boom. You do get traded.
After Masai paced in a hotel for 2 hours to make that call.
Yeah. It's hard for everybody, I guess, involved. That's what the money is for.
I can't imagine. I also think it's such BS. I used to think this a lot. Hey, they get paid millions of dollars. They'll be happy for it, which, hey, yeah, I would love some of that coin. Don't get me wrong. But all that stuff.
The way you're working, I hope you're making millions.
Yeah, I wish. But with Pascal, and then you talk about how the people are always talking about it. Social media has made it so much worse, which is why a lot of them don't go on, because it's crazy what people will put on there and critique their game. Have you even played basketball or coached? Yeah, come on,
Will _ Lou. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? But some of it's so aggressive. But for me, it's wild. Is people yelling it at them at the games in person? I was what? I know a lot of it is because they've had a lot of liquor, but also shut your mouth, because I can't imagine you're on there and people are making comments about their families or them as a player. I do not have the mental capacity to handle any of that just in my job.
Yeah.
But as an athlete, that's a million times more they're getting it. It's crazy.
I mean, that's actually a bigger conversation, because it's happening. Well, maybe it's not happening more. It's just being captured more because everyone's in there with, a camera on their phone. But you see this happening across multiple leagues where, you see, for example, this is a big thing in Spanish soccer right now, where it's a lot of teams are, players are walking off the pitch because of racial epithets that they hear on the field. You see that, last night, for example, in the NBA, Luka got a fan ejected from the game because they've been heckling him the whole game. And I think there is a line, I suppose, with heckling. Ideally, you'd be something clever.
Yeah, like DeMar having his daughter scream every time they had a free throw.
Okay, that's traumatic. That's not clever. That's traumatic. I think you've confused the two definitions. By the way, that's the funniest thing too. Is after that game, that playing game, and I'm like, damn, the Raptors season's over. I'm devastated. I can't believe they lost in that fashion. And I go down the tunnel to the event level from 600, and the first person, the elevator doors open, and the first person I see is DeAndre DeRozan in that jacket. And I'm like, I had like a literal real life jump scare when I saw her. A 10-year-old girl who stopped the rest of that run.
But you're right though, like it's extreme and intense. But you're right, like you can heckle them, like when they throw, free throws. Everyone's behind with like the noisemakers and that. Like there's some fun to wanting them to miss a shot, but in a playful way instead of just yelling like, "You suck! I hope you miss and I hope you break your leg," which I've heard people yell. Like, how do you sleep at night?
That might be on the lighter end, to be honest.
I know, but it's like I don't want to get canceled and I don't want to lose my job since I also am a Rogers employee, so I'm trying to keep it a little bit PG.
Got you. A Rogers employee paid millions. Lindsay Dunn.
That's right. I need a different paycheck because I've been missing a couple zeros if that's the case.
Oh, a couple of zeros. I hope just one. But anyway, so okay, that's really unfortunate. We also hear that so Emmanuel Quickly's out as well. He's got a thigh contusion. So we don't have Jakob and we don't have Quickly for tomorrow against the Clippers.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. I like to call it Kawhi Leonard, but mostly in his team. But I'm really excited to see Norman Powell, who I want to see if there's some truth. I haven't seen a clip actually come from his mouth, like the soundbite of him saying he wants to be in the 3-point competition at the All-Star game. I saw it on social media. I'm like, how true is this? So I need to go to Storm and Norman Powell and be like, yo, did you actually say that you want to be a part of this? Because you don't make it rain in front of the Raptors. I don't know how I feel about this. But a great story for him as well, and to see how he plays against the Raptors team that he pretty much doesn't know now because Jakob's the only one that he would have.
Well, we're seeing the reunion tour, right? Like this is the Raptors reunion.
It's too much
tour.
For the heartstrings.
It has been too much for the heartstrings. You got Jakob being like, man, they just traded my best friend.
Yeah.
I've been traded for my best friend again.
And I'm the jerk. I went and asked Chris Boucher in the locker pregame when I hate this part of the job.
What'd you do?
I don't know. I just went, I'm like, so it's not official yet, but Pascal being traded, like, and there was another reporter there, and we're like, you're the last one from the 2019 squad. And he's like, yeah, this OG hurt. And like, I'd be lying if I said this didn't hurt. And this is before he goes to play, which I think is just such a jerk journalist move to do. Just screw with their emotions. And he had like such a I could have waited for post game, but hey. So I went in and I spoke to him before. I'm like, hey, don't hate me forever. I have to ask you just like your reaction to it. And he gave such an emotional response to it. But the reunion tour.
It's the reunion tour, because it's like you see Kyle come through the building, and now Kyle's in Charlotte, and they might buy out Kyle. Like, damn, like that's how much the championship has gone. In the past.
Also, this industry is just ruthless.
Yeah, so. It's like, all right, Kyle's gone. All right, DeMar comes back. Like he understands how you can get blindsided in a business like this. You get over it, obviously. You do. You wipe your tears with the $100 bills and you're go. But like you're good eventually, right?
You had Vince in here.
Vince was
in here. You got Norm tomorrow. You have Kawhi, PJ Tucker. I know he wasn't on the 2019, but hey, he's a former Raptor. I'm just throwing him out there.
I didn't think you'd go to PJ Tucker. All right.
Why not?
Who else is coming back, man? Bismack Biyombo at this rate? We did, I guess, I suppose we did see him with the Grizzlies a couple of months ago now, but a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, like this is just going to continuously happen. And eventually we'll see Pascal come back on Valentine's Day, and we will see OG come back late in March, which I saw in the Staples commercial that they're giving away tickets to go see that game. So that's fun. I'm happy that they're still running commercials. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just they left a lot of really great memories here, right? And that's the thing. Like you only get so much time to spend with anybody, It's just about like how many memories you actually make with that person, and that's the good thing. We actually had so many fun memories with all these guys, so it will be nice to see them all over again, But
absolutely.
Norm's just gonna hug who? Like Alex McKechnie? Like Kawhi's just gonna be like, yo, Alex, man, I love how you kept me healthy for the playoffs.
Everyone just keep playing that laugh bite over and over, guys. Just remember, I'm a fun guy. Hey, McKechnie.
He's going to tap up Doug Smith and be like, thank you for that setup question. That
was
legendary.
Oh, my gosh. Doug's had some ones lately that have really set people up. Darko and his very passionate post-game speech. But with OG, I just want to quickly say about the memories of him. I think so many people love to focus on. He is a very unique human, but I remember his first press conference, the media scrum, when he was drafted. And I just remember after looking at my camera operator, being like, did we just get punked? Because
It's the first time, yeah.
Man of few words, and you're like, what? This is just so unusual because we're used to DeMar and Kyle. But over the years, I have to say this just about his character. He's somebody that knew all the security guards, all the ushers, everyone around the team, their names. He said hi to them. He didn't treat them like they're any different. Like, some people walk around with a stick up their butt. Have fun quote tweeting that. Don't know if I can say that on there. But he didn't treat anyone like that. And like, right before he's traded, like my mom was in town and she's like, you're my favorite player. Face lights up. I told him it was my mom. He's like, we have to get a photo together. And like took that time, and he always would sign autographs from fans, whether it be in Toronto or on the road. Multiple times I would see him like spend so much time interacting with them. Like just a good character. So
that's honestly it's not like the main thing that people watch for, because people are like, we just want wins and losses.
We just want wins.
We just want wins. We just want to see you put up great stats. We want to hit on our parlay more and more now. And it's just like, just do that. But no, the other stuff really matters. I think especially because the media is like, we're like half on the inside, like, but also kind of half on the outside kind of thing. And in the moments that you do get to peer on the inside, like, yeah, you get to see who some of these guys are behind the scenes, and the guys really stick out. Like OG's like character behind the scenes really sticks out. Pascal is this guy, same kind of dude, Kyle and DeMar. You hear that all the time, and you just hope that kind of tradition continues in Toronto, because, that's something where you walk into the locker room and there's pictures of like all the families and stuff like on the wall. By the way, do they take those pictures down when a guy gets traded? Because whose job is that? That's awkward.
Yeah, I don't want that job. It's like they have to be wiping the tears off their face with a $5 bill at that moment. Be like, I'm so sorry.
They're like, oh, this first Christmas with your baby? Yeah, it's gone. It's gone in a first round. It's gone for a first round pick to Indiana.
Oh, sadness.
Anyway, a new generation of Raptors coming up. 905. Get to see the next wave. How's that been? Actually, tell us. I don't even know this myself. How'd you get connected to that job, and how's it been so far to do sideline?
Yeah, for those listening or watching, I'm one of the sideline reporters for the 905. It's my first season doing this, and honestly, I got an email asking if I wanted to do it.
Exciting story.
I know. Ooh, okay,
wow.
and a story.
I'm so happy I set this up.
I know. I'll quickly to say, I moved from Regina, Saskatchewan to come to Toronto to cover the NBA. My dream job was to do a sideline. So like it's taken a hot minute to actually get here, because I've lived here for 10 years. But last year I was asked to do a sideline game for the Women's Day thing, which Amy Odward helped set up, put me in connection with the right people, and then I apparently didn't suck. So then and I think also I've been covering the team for so long that they saw my rapport and how I report, and it's not complete garbage all the time. So they gave me this opportunity. It's been great to see these players excel. I've been covering the 905 since like they started. But like the storylines this year, people following Justice Winslow, and I know some people were that story of him getting back to the NBA. People thought it would have already happened, but a lot following that. But like Marquise Noel, I know, friend of the show, wonderful human, and the way he dishes out those assists, sometimes I don't understand how he even visualizes that. It's magic, and it makes you romanticize basketball again. So long story short, it's going great. That's how I got the job.
No, I think it's great, because I think sometimes we should take the time to take the long story, because like I think most people should realize this, but if not, I'll just say it for you. Like, you're like the hardest working person in Raptors media, like in just media in general, because it's like, how many days a week do you go to Scotiabank Arena?
Every day, pretty much.
I'm not, because you go for the Leafs, you go for the Raptors, you go for the 905. It's all travel. You do all the interviews that you can with, like, I don't know, a lot of these artists.
Throw in PWHL, you throw in entertainment as well, throw in.
That's what I'm saying. Every time I see you, I'm like, first off, A, I'm happy to see you, because we rarely get to see each other. And also B, like, have you slept, basically? And the answer is usually no. So
no, but you work hard too. It's just, it is what it is. And the thing is, like,
it's a daily radio show from 2 to 4. Like, I prepare like probably 3-4 hours, but that's about it. Like,
yeah, I also am a BBC correspondent, which a lot of people don't know. So it's like, hey, you add that I got up at like 4 a.m. You do like 12 hits there. Then you go to the regular day job. And then where I've done like, I don't know, 9 interviews today, and then half of them on air. And then I have a couple interviews tonight as well. I love my job. I will not complain about it like my husband might, because he doesn't see me a lot.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to sidestep that question.
Yeah. I'm like, no. Like, but it's great, because I'm covering sports and entertainment.
Yeah.
The worst thing that I cover is like there's some jerk fans or the odd jerk player that does something terrible in life. But other than that, like, you're rooting for people. Like I mentioned, Marquise Noel.
Yeah.
You want to see him succeed.
He's great, man. I waited for an Uber with him at the facility yesterday.
Whoa,
I don't know,
okay. No, Mr. Celebrity over there.
I'm trying to contribute to the conversation. I honestly, truthfully, I have not spent that much time with the 905.
Well, I'll see you there Saturday. I'm doing sidelines for the game.
You want me to spend my Saturday with the 905?
I would love for you to spend your Saturday with the 905 and me in Mississauga, Paramount Fine Food Center. It'll be great.
Honestly, sorry. Maybe next week. Sorry.
They also play Tuesday, Wednesday, so I'll see you there before the NHL All-Star stuff. So
one of those days, me and Blake should go down there for sure.
Yeah.
I know Blake's already made it over there once or twice, but for people who haven't followed the 905 as much, so one of the big questions is just how's Gradey doing down there? Because you see the highlight clips, you see the box score, but you see the whole game. You're around the whole team. What's Gradey's assignment when he goes down there, and how is he sort of progressing that?
Yeah, at the beginning, I'm sure you saw the headlines and everyone talking about how well his first game did not go.
Sure, yeah.
And
we're asking him like, "Yo, is your shot broken?
Your shot?" And I know it's because like a former Raptor for like a moment posted like, "Why did they ruin his shot on social media?" And he said, "No, like my shot is just no one's changed it. It's just different from college ball going right to the NBA, and he's still adapting with it. Some adapt quicker than others, but he just struggled kind of getting with the plays, which 905 and Raptors, it's the same scheme and all that. It just new players." Almost not really new system, but it just wasn't working. But he's really excelled. He's getting more confident and aggressive, whether it be defensively or offensively. And he's getting more threes up. And his shot is starting to fall more. And you're seeing that how he's putting that work in 905 when it comes to conditioning. And also, they're saying like put a little bit of weight on or whatever. Maybe
that's what Darko was saying. He's like, yeah, in 3 weeks you could tell that he put on more weight. I'm like, in 3 weeks? Like,
yeah, Darko, he clearly has more intel. I didn't really see it, but I wasn't analyzing Gradey in that way too much.
Okay, all right. I was going to ask you if Gradey is buff or not, but
you know what? I haven't seen an improvement there, but maybe somebody online can let you know how that's going because I have been not been scoping him out. But he has been doing a lot better. He's getting more aggressive. His shots falling. And you see that work paying off by getting some more minutes with the Raptors, where you can see even in that game where he's a bit more aggressive. But I know it's not where anyone wants to see where he would be at this far in the season. There's higher expectations than where he's at right now.
So I think one thing that's been interesting for me with Gradey is just he strikes me as so young. Like it's because I see his like parents in the building quite often for Raptors games and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a judgment. It just makes me feel like he's so young in that way. Versus like when I saw like, for example, when Scotty first came in the league, I sat down for an interview with him at Media Day and I was like, this guy is gigantic. And I know he's like the same age as Gradey, but he's going to be able to hit the ground running just on a physical profile because he's going to be able to go in the starting lineup and just go. Like he's ready to take all those bumps. With Gradey, there's been so much talk about the conditioning. Like, is that the same sense you get with Gradey sometimes? It's just like he just needs more time. Like,
I think he needs more time, but also I don't want to say anything about Scotty because I'm not in the mood for so much hate mail. Because if you say anything slightly that could be perceived as negative, 9 years of like, what are you doing? You should quit your job. But I'll just say I actually had a different experience with Scotty when he first came in.
Okay,
I also he's a huge human being.
I was like, he's the biggest guy on the team. But when it comes to,
you said young, I felt Scotty was still very youthful and maybe, his family wasn't around, but I still felt that he was definitely a young kid that's in his early 20s. And that was the vibe I got from him is that like he was in his early 20s. I don't want to say like his maturity level may not been that of a Thad Young quite yet, but I still felt that when he came in the league and I interviewed him, he was still quite young.
Right. Well, somebody who has been described as Thad Young as, I think, so Jonte was at practice yesterday and he even said that he was like, Coach has been calling me Thad Young Jr. because of how much Thad has been in his ear and also how much they, I suppose, resemble each other in their game. Like they're both lefties. That's about it, really. I said under the rim lefties, but I'm like, young Thad Young was definitely above the rim.
Yes.
Like Thad at your age was definitely dunking on guys pretty regularly. But yeah, well, what about Jonte and his journey from
Jonte? I am Team Jonte all day, every day. Okay. I was actually his first interview when he came into the Raptors franchise because he was with the 905 and like he was with Detroit's G League team. He gets a call. He's on a plane. I think they were going to Maine, and his wife had to drive from Detroit to Toronto, and he's playing in that game right away. But then he comes and has like his first game as a 905 member. What a welcoming party. Like he was the walk-off interview. He just completely excelled, and he managed to mesh with that team. He says, like, it's just basketball, and he was trying to let everyone have their space, but also what a story with and I know you guys have talked about this before, but the injuries that he sustained.
Yeah.
To be able to come back, like not once, but twice, having an injury that ends people's career.
Right.
Here he is now, so grateful to have this opportunity and excelling. I know at some games with the Raptors, people wanted more. He even said, like, it wasn't his best showing the other day. But with 905 and that, he was an absolute star in like handful of games that he's had. But I loved yesterday's presser because I thought a lot of people that may not have had the chance to be around him, he's actually quite shy and a reserved person. Like he was holding his hands behind the mic. And I mean this in a compliment. He's a little bit nerdy. Like I'm a nerdy. I don't want anyone to be a basic B. Saying you're a nerd is a compliment.
You're so trained for air. Oh my God.
No, I was like,
I would have sworn by now for sure.
Oh, I've been trying not to. It's like I am zesty today because like I was reading some things people were saying about Pascal that were just like racist and not okay. And I just I'm at a 10.
We gotta have a longer conversation. What's going on with
But Jonte's fantastic.
Yeah.
Phenomenal player that is putting in the work, and he's taking the criticism and also the praise from Darko, or whether it be Coach Corey from the 905, and really using it to his advantage and taking advantage of the situation he's fought from his injury to get back and have this. So I think that's that storyline, that feel-good storyline that everybody should just want to see him excel.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people pointed this out because I watched all the pressers afterwards too, and it's just like, everyone's just remarking like he's a really good speaker. Like he's open, he's engaging, he gives you his thoughts, and
gives you the time of day.
I think for media, that's the thing with the Darko interview I actually wanted to mention too, because before we were just getting the shot set up and whatever, like the cameraman's just like adjusting lights, or I don't know what camera people do, to be honest. I'm not a production side person, but it's just taking a minute to get set up. So me and Darko were just sitting there, kind of having small chit chat, and he's like, look, I don't think of this as an interview. I think of this as a conversation between two people. We're just going to spend some time together. And I was like, dude, that's awesome, because that's the exact vibe I want to bring into pretty much every interview. And most times you don't actually get that time of day, as you mentioned. A lot of times it's just like, oh, we got to do this. All right, let me just get through it. Yeah. Here's some basic answers, and hopefully it's so boring that you don't follow up, and then we just end the interview, right? And so I appreciate Jonte for that. We got 2 minutes left. Speaking of 905, though, I keep seeing big stat lines for Javon Freeman-Liberty.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on there?
I asked Coach Darko about him today. I was like, what does he need to do, or what are you seeing to get him, with the Raptors? Injured,
maybe.
An opportunity. He said he's loved what has seen from him so far with the 905. And like he had a couple minutes with the Raptors where he had his first NBA bucket, but he said he can really make an impact on the court, and he's excited to see him get more chances with the Raptors coming up. But with the 905, like he was injured early on, off and on, and taking that moment, making it rain. He's a facilitator as well. That is also another storyline. Javon Freeman-Liberty, his time is coming very soon.
Yeah, I mean, 905 games again. A lot of people just cheat and just look at the box score, and you will see Javon's name quite prominently. I think he just came off a 37 piece or something like that. So that's been great. Well, I mean, I think first off, we never have enough time for this. I should have just kicked Darko out, and we could have just talked
for a whole hour. You should have, and had me in for the 2 hours. Although I will also say quickly, Team
honestly,
Darko.
I will take you up on that.
Because I have a million stories about the team right now, but also some fun Darko stuff. I'm like, oh my God, we only got like 30 seconds right now, so I'll just have to save it till next time.
Well, I mean,
you'll have to offer me another sweater next time I come in. This is great.
Again, Clement, I'm going to text you. I have been pressed on air now, but I'm going to press you back because there will be an upcoming period where I might need a fill-in co-host for a while. So if you are free to come through the studio and do a full 2 hours.
I already said we're BFFs. I will be here all day, every day.
Okay, I'm holding you to that. All right.
I thought you were going to ask me for NHL All-Star tickets. I'm like, I have no tickets for you.
I don't have I can't get tickets. Okay.
I got enough tickets for you.
I got to get you a sweater, but you can't get me the tickets? That's tough. I mean, to be honest, I probably wouldn't recognize 90% of the players.
Which would be, you know what? Actually, cover it with me, and I'll be like, who's this? Who's this? Who is this? You'll be like, I don't know.
Marner. All right, cool. All right, that does it for us today. I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find The Raptors Show where we listen to podcasts. Subscribe, and please rate and review the show. Thanks to my producers, Mark, Daniele, Derek, Jennifer Olnick, David Sis, J.R. Manitad. Big thanks to our guests, Joe Wolfond, Joseph Casciaro, and, of course, Lindsay Dunn. Appreciate you. And, we will talk to you tomorrow. Me and Blake will talk to you tomorrow.